Welcome back, everyone. We're going to be going to the Scorn of Tiamat to show an updated preview. It should be the next Indignant trial to be released on Global in the Chamber of the Scorns, or whatever you want to call it. So we're going to be using Kadaj. He's about equal to CG Onion Knight in terms of damage dealt, so it'll be a really close comparison to what Global's current power level is. I am using some better tanks, though, but that's not really relevant. So we're going to be doing Ignacio for passive provoke evasion. He's going to be doing things like fire resist buff, mitigation buffs. He's also going to sometimes imbue and or imperil. Now you'll notice the whole team is going to have some dark resist and some fire resist. You want to be able to get your team to optimally close to 190 fire resist after a buff. Now we'll be using 100% buff from Ignacio. That's not required. You can skip that if you want. In that case, you're going to need AoE re-raise, but I'm going with the resistance setup. So we're going to use Sayaka as our healer. She does heals, break immunity. She can do shadow resist. She can also imperil Holy Element, which we're going to be doing sometimes with Holy Imbues. We're going to use Sacred Shield Charlotte as our mitigator, our magical cover. Now your magic cover tank wants 190 or close to it. Fire, ice, and lightning, about 100 wind resist, and close to 100 dark resist as well. You can use buffs to reach these levels, but it's safer to do it without buffs in case your buffer is busy for a turn. You don't want your magic tank to die. So high resist is really good. She's not going to be actually covering any non-elemental damage, so she doesn't really need that much spirit. It's more about the resistances. We're going to use Elephant as our breaker. You can use any breaker you want. On Global, we can use Kryla, Edgar, Lid, whoever you want. But I like Elephant because she buffs and breaks at the same time. And we're also going to be using her Holy Imbue because the boss is vulnerable to Holy. He actually absorbs Fire, Ice, Lightning, Dark, and he's usually resistant to Wind. So you only have really 3 options of damage dealing, which is Water, Earth, or Holy. Now we're going to use Kadaj as our DPS. Like I said, he's very close to Onion Knight's or CG Onion Knight's damage level. Mine's geared for some high attack and Dragon Killer. Now you'll notice he has no fire resist whatsoever. I'm choosing to ignore it on him. So one of 2 things will happen. On the threshold turn, if Sayaka's Limit Burst is ready, she can cleanse the Imperil, and Ignacio can buff fire resist, and he'll survive. Kind of like something Myra could do with the Limit Burst that cures Imperil. Sayaka's is the same way. If Sayaka's Limit Burst is not ready, we'll just re-raise Kadaj, he'll die, and he'll come back, which is not the worst thing ever. Here's the friend Mortrix set up his Kadaj for me, basically the exact same as mine. He got some Dragon Killers, and we're using non-elemental weapons because we're going to be doing imbues. We're either going to do an Earth Imbue with Ignacio and Imperil, or we're going to do a Holy Imbue with Elephant, and then Imperil Holy with Sayaka. So for this ambush, the boss is going to give himself a Mirage buff. You can't actually see it, so it is there. It's a hidden buff, but he's got 5 stacks of Mirage. That can be dispelled. Now all these stat buffs and resist buffs cannot be dispelled. So for this first turn, we're going to use Ignacio to dispel the boss with his Finger Snap ability, and do a mitigation buff for the team. Now that removed the Mirage, but like I said, these other buffs cannot be dispelled. Now we're going to break Attack and Magic with Elephant. Charlotte will cover. And now Kadaj will just use their power-ups. Kadaj is actually very similar to Onion in that he does low damage for a few turns, then he does like 2 turns of huge burst, and then he goes back to low damage while he sets up again. Now Sayaka will give us a dark resist buff, and we'll do a break immunity buff. Now this first turn, the boss is going to use a dark attack that bypasses cover, so you want to have some dark resist ready to go. Another thing he's going to do is random target attacks that ignore provoke and ignore cover. So 1 hit Charlotte, 1 hit Kadaj, but if you've got some mitigation up and some good defense, it's not that big a deal. There's the dark resist buff, as you saw, he breathed from the team, but we've got a dark resist, or he did a dark breath. But we've got dark resist from Sayaka, so we've pretty much mitigated most of it. So now we're going to do just more power-ups with Kadaj. Let's see here. And we're going to go ahead and imbue Kadaj with Holy using Elephim. We'll have C card do our resist buff, and we'll do an Imperil. Let me make sure this is the right one. Nope, this is the Imperil. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Oop, I'm doing this wrong. We want to do a heal with Sayaka, and she wants to do the Imperil because we're doing Holy right now. We're not doing Earth right now. So in that case, C card is going to just do a break and a resist buff. Now, if we get Charlotte's limit, we'll go ahead and do it, but we're probably not going to get her limit unless we get really lucky on crystal drops. But this turn for Kadaj is still just mostly a setup. We actually got her limit. Okay, that was convenient. Now this turn, you might notice it's hard to see, but after he attacks twice on turn 2, he's going to dispel our Provoker, which is Signacio, and right here. He did do it on turn 2, right? I could have gotten the turn wrong. Oh, no, it's turn 3. It's turn 3 above 70%. My bad. He's going to do that next turn. Well, this is actually Kadaj's burst turn, so we might even push a threshold here. So let's go ahead and break with Elephim. Now Kadaj has been powered up. We're going to do our triple cast, which is going to be the big burst. And like I said, we might push this threshold. The threshold is at 80%. It's every 20%. The threshold at 80, 60, 40, and 20. Let's see what kind of damage we deal first. Oh, we pushed it. We pushed the threshold. Okay, so this turn the boss is not going to do anything. Let me do a limit fill buff. Let me have Sayaka do a heal. And I want to fill more limits with Sayaka. Where's your limit fill buff? Come on, Sayaka. I know you've got it. There it is. Limit fill. Gives a tiny bit of fill. Alright, and Signacio will just buff resistance, and we'll just hit the boss for more crystals. We didn't get any, that's fine. Okay, so the boss is going to do his regular turn. At the end of the turn, if you watch the boss's graphic, he's going to gain like a red circle. That's a signal that he's powering up his threshold attack. It comes on the next turn after you push the threshold. So there's the Dark Breath, and if you watch right there, that red circle, that's the signal that next turn, the AoE fire that ignores cover is coming in. Now, we so far have not filled up Sayaka's limit burst gauge. I maybe we should have given her more autofill. So we can't remove this Imperil yet, because we're currently Imperiled with fire, and that's going to kill our Kadaj's. But first of all, let me go ahead and do our chaining with Kadaj, and if we're lucky, we'll get Sayaka's limit burst filled here. Let's go ahead and do our chain. We got it. Okay, so we actually pushed the second threshold, which is a little bit of a problem, but we'll explain that in just a moment. For now, we're going to use Sayaka's limit burst. That's going to cure our fire Imperil, and the boss is not going to reapply it on this turn. Now, Signacio will just refresh the fire buff. It's already active, but we're going to refresh it just for safety's sake. So currently, we removed our Imperil, and we've got a plus 100% fire resist buff. That makes us immune to this threshold coming in. Let's have Charlotte just go ahead and do a little bit of limit fill. So now the boss is going to do his regular turn, and then he's going to do his threshold. So here comes the regular turn. That's a regular turn. And then he's going to do a Dark Breath. No, not going to do a Dark Breath. And a big red fire pillar. That's the threshold. We're currently immune, though. You saw how we did it twice? That's because we pushed two thresholds. We pushed the 80% and the 60%. So we did a double threshold, which is okay. But Kadaj has now lost his power-up, so we've got to go back through his cycle of powering up again. Like I said, he's kind of like Onion Knight. Kadaj has 2 turns of power-up, and then 2 turns of burst, and then you repeat. But, okay, something you need to also pay attention to, that threshold attack that the boss did, even though it didn't kill anyone, it dispelled our cover and our buffs. So notice Charlotte does not have cover. That was dispelled. It's not a full dispel, it only dispels cover and resistance buffs. So we have no resistance and we have no cover. So we want to go ahead and reapply that with Charlotte. And we want to do all our resistance buffs again. So we're going to buff mitigation and buff resistance. Elephim will do a break, and then Sayaka will reapply dark resist, and we'll do break immunity. So there we go. So the next threshold is at 40%. And there's some, some AoE attacks that ignore cover that's hitting the team, but they're not too big a deal as long as you've got some defense in your team. So eventually the boss is going to do the wind resist buff. I think the wind resist comes next turn. Alright, yeah, he's currently broken. So let's go ahead and imbue Holy again. We'll have Sayaka do a heal, and we'll do a Holy in Peril, which is 100% Holy in Peril. We need to do our power-ups with Kadaj. These are going to do very, very low damage, but they power up his big burst for the next 2 turns. Well, they did low damage, but they pushed the threshold anyway, which is okay. Unfortunately, it's actually not that okay, because we currently don't have Sayaka's limit burst, so we're going to do our best to fill it as soon as possible. Yeah, we don't have the limit burst. This could be a potential problem. I mean, it won't be that big a deal, but we'll see what happens. If we get lucky, we can possibly get her limit burst next turn. Okay, so at the end of the turn, because we pushed that threshold, watch for that red circle at the end of his turn. That's going to be the fire is powering up. There it is, the red circle. That's the signal that next turn is that big fire attack that bypasses cover. But currently we're in peril to fire, and we don't have Sayaka's limit burst ready to go. But if we're lucky, we can get it with crystal drops right here. Let's see what happens. Charlotte, how many turns are in your cover? Your cover has 2 turns, so we're going to do a limit fill buff before we chain. Boss's breaks. We need to refresh the breaks on the boss. Alright, let's see if we can get lucky and fill Sayaka's limit burst. We're a tiny, tiny, tiny bit short, but unfortunately I have no more ways to fill limit burst. So now we're going to lose our Kadaj, which is a little unfortunate. The rest of the team is wearing fire resist, so they're not going to die. But Kadaj, unfortunately, is short on has no fire resist, so they're going to die. So let's go ahead and just re-raise the Kadajes, because they are so dead. And we actually pushed 2 thresholds, so they might even die twice here. Now, C. Ignacio, let's go ahead and put mitigation and rebuff fire resist for the remainder of the team. We pushed the 40% and the 20% threshold here. Now the boss is going to do his regular turn first, and then he's going to do his Infernal Blast as the last action of the round. That's his Fire Breath. That's actually not the threshold. It's got a similar graphic, but that's not it. Alright, and here comes the Infernal Blast. Goodbye, Kadaj. And a second Infernal Blast. Kadaj has cheat death, so we kind of bypass one of them. So there we go. So there's the thresholds. All the thresholds are now complete. We lost the Kadajes, which is a little unfortunate. They actually died before their unlocks are ready. So this is going to be pretty low damage on Kadaj for the next 2 turns. But they are imbued with Holy by Elephant by her autocast. So we'll just do this. So let's go ahead and have Charlotte just put a mitigation for the Kadajes. Let's give them Dark Resist and Break Immunity. Let's have C. Ignacio give them Physical Mitt and Fire Resist. And we'll just go ahead and double chain. This is going to do pretty low damage because this is not powered up whatsoever. Oh, and the boss got Mirage again. I got distracted by the threshold. I never dispelled the boss's Mirage. He gains Mirage every 7 turns, so I could have dispelled that, but that was a low damage turn anyway, so it's like whatever. But we actually consumed the 5. It's 5 stacks of Mirage, and we consumed them already, so the Mirage is now gone. It'll come back on turn 14. But let's go ahead and power up the Kadaj. Now, I could probably kill the boss from here without even bothering with the Kadaj's power up, but we're going to do it just for the sake of going one more turn. Let's go ahead and refresh the Holy Imbue. The breaks are okay, right? Yeah, breaks are fine. Let's refresh the Holy Imbue. Let's heal the team. And let's reapply Holy Imperil with Sayaka. C. Ignacio will just go ahead and put up a mitigation with his Limiverse. That also gives Mirage to the team. And then Charlotte, not much going on with her. We'll just cover, whatever. So there we go. So we did it in 9 turns with Kadaj, who is, like I said, he's very, very close to Onion Knight's damage. So if you've got Onion Knight, this fight will be no problem at all. If you've got, maybe a DPS that's slightly older, it might take you 12 turns, 14 turns. The mission is to do it in 25 turns, so you should have, no problem getting that mission as long as your team is pretty decent. So we're currently imbued with Holy. We're not going to waste time with the power-up moves. We're just going to go directly into the... That's not the right skill. We're just going to go directly into the real chain. Now, this chain will not be powered up to the full maximum, so it'll actually be a little bit less damage. But it should still finish off the boss right here. Yeah, we got him anyway. So there we go. There is Tiamat. Just a quick overview of the fight. So just to recap, you want 190% fire resist on your whole team, or a way to get to 100 fire resist, and a way to remove that Imperil. If you don't have a way to do that, do re-raise on your entire team. AoE re-raise is a safe way to do it. You could also use something like, Lena or Dr. Aiden that has triple cast white and just re-raise the important people and then raise the DPS the next turn. You've got 25 turns to do this fight. It's really generous as long as your DPS is good. You can also bring mages, which allows you to completely ignore that Mirage mechanic, and the boss has much lower spirit than defense. But as long as you've got a high damage physical damage dealer with a lot of Dragon Killer, you can still do it with physical, no problem at all. Alright, so there is a preview of the Tiamat fight, which should be due out sometime in March on Global, hopefully. So, see you guys later.